Good evening, I'm Agam Akil and you're watching Bloomberg Quint Live. So what did you miss? Let's go straight to the headlines. The Supreme Court dismisses a petition seeking an SIT probe into the allegations of corruption among judges, hits out at the petitioners for forum shopping. The odd-even scheme in Delhi is off. The NGT rejects the Delhi government's request to exempt women and two-wheelers from the program. The wholesale price inflation has risen to 3.59% in October. Rise in food prices and fuel and power contribute to the rise in WPI ahead of the next month's RBI's policy meeting. And Indian markets end at a three-week low. Rise in CPI and WPI tempers expectations of a rate cut by the central bank next month. And the BJP, confident of winning the 3/4 majority in next month's Gujarat election, says Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani in an interview with Bloomberg Quint. But the top story for now, the Supreme Court today rejected a petition filed by lawyer Kamini Jaiswal for a special investigations team to probe allegations of bribes sought to influence cases in the apex court. This verdict comes on the back of the High Court drama in the Supreme Court over allocations of judges. Arpan Chaturvedi, who has been tracking this case, has this report.
Well, the Apex Court has now dismissed the PIL filed by lawyer Kamini Jaiswal. Basically, this petition, what it was seeking was that an SIT investigation be set up to investigate the charges that bribes were being sought to allegedly settle a case which was at that time being heard in the Supreme Court. However, today's judgment has rejected the petition. It has noticed that the FIR does not name the Chief Justice or any sitting judge of the court, as well as that the order or the petition was already dismissed, the case that was pending in the Supreme Court by the time the FIR was lodged. So these were two grounds. On the contempt part, they said the court has been very clear that they believe that some of the actions and the comments made by the petitioner's lawyer does amount to contempt, but they have not initiated any contempt. The court also noticed that when the petition by Kamini Jaiswal's PIL was mentioned in court 2 on Thursday, they did not inform the court that an earlier similar petition was already pending and listed before on the court. The court said that that amounts to forum shopping. And they also said that the demand of the petitioners, whether it was seeking the recusal of the Chief Justice in the earlier case or in the earlier hearing in front of the Constitution bench, or yesterday when they sought the recusal of Justice Kanvilkar, these actions also amount to contemptuous proceedings and forum shopping. However, as we've said again, they did not initiate any contempt proceedings. The Attorney General also spoke to Bloomberg Quint for a moment outside the court, and he said that it's a statesman-like decision that has come. The judges also said the same thing, that damage has been caused to the institution because of this case. However, let's now unite and work for the betterment of the institution.
Well, we also spoke to the former Additional Solicitor General as A.S. Chandyok to get his views on the entire drama at the Supreme Court on its latest verdict. Listen in.
The court has only denounced the people using forum shopping to go and take proceedings one after the other, is the first part, and like the fundamental principle of any judicial dispensation that you can't have forum shopping to ask for the same relief again and again. If their association of which she forms a part has already filed a petition and was pending adjudication before the Supreme Court, there was no need for filing another petition. Therefore, that's probably what has been deprecated by the Supreme Court today. And the second is what the Supreme Court itself said, that my restraint is my power, and therefore they have not initiated any contempt proceedings against Kamini Jaiswal or anybody else. We will have to put a restraint, and people making allegation to any judge, whether it is a subordinate judge or a judge of the constitutional court or the highest court of the land.
Moving on, the National Green Tribunal has rejected the Delhi government's review petition yet again on the odd-even scheme exemptions. The Green Court questioned the APP government as to why it could not run women-only buses to solve transportation woes during the scheme. Remember, the odd-even scheme was to be implemented yesterday but was scrapped by the Delhi government, citing issues of women's safety and transportation concerns after the NGT refused to accept the exemptions to the scheme. The Additional Solicitor General of India, Pinky Anand, said that the Delhi government should focus on protecting the environment at the hour and not exactly the needy. Listen in.
The whole view was if environment is an issue, then why are you having exemptions? You're not looking after needy people. That is not the idea. The idea is to protect the environment for the benefit of others. The application was withdrawn. Statement was only made that some new application is going to be filed, but no details, no explanations. The states have this responsibility. They have to carry it. If you have to prioritize your budget as far as the states are concerned to ensure that this problem is taken care of. If you have, then after that, a genuine difficulty, you may approach. But every time the states cannot look to the center and say, we don't have funds to do this, therefore you do it.
Well, moving on to the economy then, India's wholesale prices have risen in October on costlier food and fuel, reducing the chances of a rate cut by the RBI in its December policy meeting. And WPI rose to as much as 3.59% in October after yesterday's CPI data. Both consumer and wholesale prices have risen ahead of the December policy review. WPI on food articles rose to 4.3% in October. The data also showed that a 10.5% rise in prices for fuel, in power and electricity stemming from a surge in oil prices. And of course, the markets continue to consolidate for the second day in a row, with the Nifty giving up the 10,200 mark at close. All sectors barring realty and auto ended the day in the red. Let's head across straight to Neeraj Shah, who is standing by to give us details of the equity markets. Neeraj, another tough day for markets.
A muted day for the markets today, for sure. You could even say that it was a tough day. But yeah, very muted day. And just look at the kind of reactions that we've had. About 1/3% for the Nifty, 1/4% for the Sensex and the broader markets too, as they appear on your screen. Not really too much of a dramatic movement. So both the mid caps and the small caps too, very lackluster in the session today. The market breadth, of course, in favor of the declines. Firstly, stocks which stood out and gave a bit of a support to the index. I thought Reliance and Bajaj Finance, though both of these came off from the levels that they were trading at, but these were the supporting hands and a bit of a bounce back that happened for both of these names. However, a lot of pressure on a bunch of other names, and that's what we need to bring out. This block deal or the bulk deal that happened. So Bharti Infrared cracked about 4.5% and it happened. It slid below the price at which the deal was done. That's not all. I think oil and gas was under a bit of pressure. So BPCL, HPCL, IOC, and the weakness persists in these stocks. They've lost about 10% in a month to date or the last 1 month, and that's not a very pretty sign for these stocks. Moving on. I think we had strong moves, strong results by Cadila, and that led to some good gains for pharma by and large. So on the large cap space, Lupin and Cadila, but not the index space. I think Divi's, Torrent Pharma, slightly smaller names as well, the likes of Indoco Remedies or Ajanta Pharma had a very good day. So pharma as a pocket really shone through in the session today. There was one muted listing in Khadim, but there were some very strong result reactions that came in. Repcom Finance 6% from the start of the trading day, doing very well. Action Construction Equipment, the results came out a couple of days ago, but it's starting to show in the way the stock has done. 19.5% up for Action Construction Equipment as well. So all in all, you would argue that except for a few pockets like the ADAG pack, I think the broader market seems to be okay, but the large caps were very muted in trade.
Well, thanks for that, Neeraj. Well, we will be watching out for some of those cues. And when it comes to our own markets, we have a long week ahead. But moving on, the bank recap move from the government has given us some hope that the banking system in India will get better. That's the word coming in from CLSA's Chris Wood. He also says that CLSA is confident on India. Listen in.
You agreed that if corporate tax cuts are dashed, the US markets would decline, but it's unclear whether the tax reforms are actually reforms or a landmark tax reforms or just restricted to tax cuts. Is that a big determinant of what the US markets will do over the course of the next 3 to 6 odd months?
Yeah, no, I agree with that. In my view, on a sort of 3-4 month view, the US tax debate is the key issue for the US stock market, more important than Fed policy. I also agree that the key issue is whether it's tax cuts or landmark tax reform. I would say right now the odds are still 50-50 on landmark tax reform. So it'd be nice to have a very strong view one way or the other, but I don't think that's rational. It's clear that the Republican Party in Congress needs to get some kind of tax package done by the end of Q1 next year, well in time for the midterm elections. But I think the critical issue for markets is whether it's landmark tax reform, which they're definitely trying to do, or it just turns out to be something less dramatic, just a corporate tax cut.
So how would that place how the global markets do? Because the 3 or 4 large markets, I mean, all large markets are right now trading at multi-year highs, save for China, which has also rallied quite a bit ever since you were one of the few ones who went overboard China about 18 months ago as well. What's the global market scenario looking right now? Is it uncertain, or do you reckon that this rally that we have had for numerous years now could well continue?
Now, for me, in terms of Asian markets, specifically Asian emerging markets, I remain very constructive. My view remains that Asia made a multi-year bottom in terms of relative underperformance at the beginning of 2016. At that time, many global investors thought that China had lost control of its capital account, the China currency was going to collapse. That marked the peak in negative sentiment on China. And I think we've begun a period of extended outperformance in Asian emerging markets. However, the risk if you buy Asian equities today is that Wall Street remains more overvalued than ever. So the risk is that something happens to cause a correction on Wall Street and you have a correlated sell-off globally, which would be quite healthy technically, to have a bit of profit taking, and that would be a great chance to add to your Asian equity positions. But I remain firmly overweight Asian emerging markets, and I think Asian portfolios need to be concentrated in the 2 markets my portfolios are concentrated in, that's China and India. As you rightly know, the big story this year has not been India. The big story in Asian equity markets has been China, which has outperformed all other markets, and that's been a pain trade for many global emerging market investors because they began the year underweight China.
Let's assume it's ceteris paribus, Chris. We don't hear too many disruptions. What about India individually? We perched well and truly above the Mount 10,000. Valuations a bit stretched. Earnings in Q2 not as bad as Q1. Do you think the numbers start showing themselves in the second half and will justify the kind of valuations that we are at currently? Is it possible to be able to predict and forecast that?
Yeah, well, I'm still comfortable sitting with I've got a structural 3 times overweight in India in my relative return Asia ex-Japan portfolio. I'm still comfortable with that. I did reduce that overweight a bit actually at the start of this quarter, precisely because the valuations were high. However, I restored it back to a triple overweight when we had the announcement of the bank recap. In my view, that was the missing link in the Indian equity story. I think there's been a huge number of positive reforms introduced by the Modi administration since the BJP government took power. But there's been one big missing link, one failure amid all the many successful reforms they've introduced, and that's been the almost total failure to address the problem in the banking system, which actually was inherited by this government. So in my view, that is the chief reason why the investment cycle has continued to trend down and why bank loan growth has been running recently below nominal GDP growth. But obviously, we've now had the announcement of the bank recap. So assuming that is implemented, that I believe creates light at the end of the tunnel in terms of this downturn in private sector capex and investment and credit growth. So on a 2 to 3 year view, I think one can now look with reasonable confidence to a resumption of an investment cycle, not necessarily in the next 12 months. That I think creates a much more positive medium-term outlook for Indian equities.
Reliance Communications failed to pay a coupon on its 2020 dollar notes before the expiry of its grace period, which ended yesterday. This is India's biggest high-profile default on international debt since IBC came into vogue last year. Narcom's share prices and bonds have taken a beating as a consequence. The company had earlier missed interest payments due on November 2nd and November 7th, and on 2 rupee-denominated bonds. Reliance Communications had also reiterated on Saturday that a standstill period for the interest and principal repayments continue until December 2018. Reliance Communications has proposed a debt resolution plan to lenders that includes lenders converting part of their debt to equity, and a filing under the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Code would force the company to come up with a debt resolution plan for all its creditors. And Bharat 22 Exchange Traded Fund, or ETF, has been launched today for anchor investors as the government looks to meet a steep disinvestment target. This is its second low-cost investment alternative after the CPSE ETF, and the government is looking to raise nearly 8,000 crores this time from the fund. And Bharat 22 will be open to retail investors tomorrow, and it consists of a diversified portfolio of 22 blue chip stocks. And the ETF will aim to bring broad-based ownership patterns to public sector enterprises. And ETFs are passively managed funds with the portfolios of stocks which can be traded like securities. But Nimesh Shah of ICICI Prudential, who will manage the Bharat 22 ETF, said that the companies in the index will benefit from the government's initiative over the next 5 years. Here's a conversation that Navneet and I had with Nimesh Shah. Listen in.
The government of India wanted to divest, and in the divestment program they could have done it very easily with the institutional investors. They thought that they wanted the Indian retail to participate in it. So that's where they have created this Bharat 22 index. Bharat 22 index comprises of 22 government companies. We have worked very closely with the government of India to identify those 22 companies.
Right.
How have we gone about identifying those companies? We believe that the government of India is running some initiatives, like the infrastructure push that the government of India is saying. Since private sector there is no capex, government of India is getting into capex. So both these things, will it benefit which kind of companies? So the whole focus of Bharat 22 is 22 can be said 22 stocks, also 22 can say what will benefit in the year 2022. How can you make money for the 2000?
Right.
So that's the thought, that over the next 5 years, which companies will benefit because of the way the government of India is working.
And last week, the insolvency regulator had amended its regulations to enhance the scrutiny of resolution applicants submitting plans for distressed companies. Now, resolution professionals will need to inform the committee of creditors if the applicant is a willful defaulter, has been barred by the SEBI, or has a criminal record. Bloomberg Queen's Paiswini Upadhyay asked MS Sahu, the chairman of the Insolvency and Bankruptcy Board of India, the intent behind the change. Listen in.
See, our objective is the insolvency of corporate should be resolved. That means there has to be maximization of the value of assets of the corporate debtor. If that is the objective and resolution has to happen, we must ensure that corporate is handed over to a trustworthy person. It does not land up in the hands of an undesirable person. We know the committee of creditors, other stakeholders are responsible people. That is why they have been assigned the responsibility to approve the best resolution plan. But they must have access to information. As you see in the capital market, the stakeholders, investors, they may be competent to take the decision, but they can do so only if they have relevant information available with them. What has been done in these regulations is to make the information required for decision making. That the resolution plan itself will say if the people behind the resolution application are credible enough, they do not have any criminal track record, they are not disqualified from being a director under the Companies Act, they have not been debarred from accessing the market or trading in the market, or they are not willful defaulters. Please remember that this plan is the basis based on which we are expecting that real insolvency will be resolved and it will not again get into the process of insolvency.
Sure. So is that the regulator's way of telling the COC, sir, that you can't just pick a plan that gives you best value for your debt?
We are simply saying that you take care of today and take care of tomorrow. The corporate exists for today, after resolution it will exist tomorrow. It is a legal entity which exists in perpetuity. It is not having 6-month timeline, 1 year timeline. It will go for liquidation or closed. If you have that view, you have to maximize the long-term interest. Company does not get into liquidation.
Well, moving on to politics, the BJP has had a 22-year record run in Gujarat. Will the anti-incumbency finally be a factor in these elections, or is the ruling party working towards dividing the anti-BJP vote? In an exclusive interview to Bloomberg Quint's Sanjay Pugalia, Chief Minister Vijay Rupani talks about BJP's vote share, Rahul Gandhi's rising popularity and more. Here's an excerpt where he talks about all in this continuing BJP rule in Gujarat.
हम लोग टीम स्पिरिट से काम कर रहे हैं। ये सब रिले रेस है। अब मेरे हाथ में कमान है तो मुझे ही जवाब देना पड़ेगा, स्वाभाविक है। लेकिन कोई टेंशन नहीं है। सत्ता में तो बीजेपी की सरकार ही बनने वाली है, सब मान रहे हैं।
इस पे कोई ज़्यादा डिबेट नहीं है।
लेकिन कितनी सीटें आएगी, वोट शेयर क्या रहेगा, उसकी चर्चा हो रही है। लेकिन मैं आपको बताऊं, जिस तरीके से यूपी में कोई मीडिया मान नहीं रहा था, सब लोग कह रहे थे कि किसी का सपोर्ट लेना पड़ेगा, और मायावती ने पहले कह दिया हम सपोर्ट नहीं देंगे। महंगाई नहीं था फिर भी कह दिया उन्होंने। उसी तरह से दूसरे दिन अखिलेश ने किया, जरूर पड़े तो हम मायावती के साथ बैठेंगे। फिर भी बीजेपी ने अकेले 325 सीट प्राप्त की। उसी तरीके से गुजरात में भी आप जरूर देखना 150 से ज़्यादा सीट आएगी। 3/4 मेजोरिटी से हम चुनाव जीतेंगे।
तो फिर मेरा ये इंटरप्रिटेशन सही होगा क्या सर, कि दरअसल बीजेपी की जो इलेक्शन मशीन है ना, वो इस तरह की है कि अगर जनमत थोड़ा ऊपर नीचे है भी, तो भी इलेक्टोरल मैनेजमेंट बहुत तगड़े ढंग से कर लो। और वो क्या है कि अगर एंटी बीजेपी वोट है तो वो एक जगह इकट्ठा ना पड़े, उसके लिए वोट को बंटवाओ। बंटवाने की पॉलिटिक्स हर चुनाव में हर पार्टियां करती है, ये भी नया नहीं है। नया क्या है? नया है वाघेला साहब का प्रयोग, नया है प्रफुल्ल पटेल साल भर से घूम रहे हैं, अब एनसीपी के कैंडिडेट खड़े हो जाएं। नया होगा कि कांग्रेस के किसी व्यक्ति को टिकट ना मिले तो उसको टिकट दे देना। तो वोट काट करके वोट शेयर का मार्जिन मेंटेन करने पर आप लोगों का इस बार पर बहुत ज़्यादा ध्यान है।
नहीं है हमारा, हम तो पॉजिटिवली विकास के नाम पर हमारा शेयर बढ़ाने के लिए हम कोशिश कर रहे हैं। वाघेला वो अपना प्रॉब्लम है उनका, वो कांग्रेस उन्होंने जिस मुद्दे पर छोड़ी, कांग्रेस के नाराज होकर नई पार्टी बनाई। एनसीपी तो कांग्रेस के साथ ही है, वो क्या करे क्या नहीं वो कांग्रेस और उनके बीच का मामला है। कांग्रेस में जो लोग नाराज हो तो हम क्या करें इसमें, नेचुरली ये पॉलिटिक्स है तो कुछ ना कुछ इधर उधर होगा उसमें। लेकिन बीजेपी अपने बलबूते पर, अपने कार्यकर्ता के सहारे पर, जनता पर भरोसा रखते हुए, विश्वास रखते हुए मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में हम आगे बढ़ रहे हैं।
तो अगर आपकी बहुत अच्छी जीत 48% कम वोट शेयर से होती है, 57 था 2014 का, 48 रहा है विधानसभा चुनावों का एवरेज, 48, 38, 49, 37, इस तरह का 10% का गैप रहा है। अगर 10 से घट करके वो 8 हो जाए और फिर अपने को चिंतन मनन करना हो कि इसके लिए अपने फैक्टर क्या माने, जिम्मेदार फैक्टर कौन है, तो वो फैक्टर जिम्मेदार क्या होंगे?
नहीं, पहले तो सम्मति नहीं है। 55% से ज़्यादा वोट मिलेंगे और भारतीय जनता पार्टी 3/4 से ज़्यादा वोटों से हम जीतेंगे।
55% वोट शेयर सर आप प्रेडिक्ट कर रहे हैं और 150 सीट आप प्रेडिक्ट कर रहे हैं।
जरूर 150 से ज़्यादा,
150 से ज़्यादा, यानी विपक्ष मुक्त गुजरात बनाएंगे आप?
ऐसा तो नहीं कह सकते क्योंकि 182 सीटें। लेकिन मैं मानता हूं कि कांग्रेस को जिस तरीके से पिछले 3 साल में जितने चुनाव हुए राहुल गांधी के नेतृत्व में, कांग्रेस को जनता ने उखाड़ कर फेंक दिया है, तो वही हाल गुजरात में भी होगा।
सर एक बहुत सच्ची बोलूं, इंटरेस्टिंग बात अगर कहूँ आपसे, राहुल गांधी के बारे में अपेक्षा कम हो गई थी उनके परफॉर्मेंस के कारण, चाहे जो भी। दरअसल बहुत सारे लोग ये बोल रहे हैं जो ये कहते हैं कि देखिए हम बीजेपी से खुश नहीं हैं, वोट मोदी जी को दे देंगे, रूपानी जी को दे देंगे, लेकिन राहुल थोड़ा सा प्रॉमिस शो कर रहे हैं। कुछ आंकड़े मैंने देखे आपके पास आने के पहले, मैंने थोड़ा सा स्टडी करने की कोशिश की, इस पर भी डिबेट हो सकती है। वो ये कि चैनलों की टीआरपी में गुजरात की बात कर रहा हूँ मैं, राहुल पहले कहीं ठहरते नहीं थे, अब राहुल ने जंप मारा है और मोदी जी नंबर 1 है, लेकिन अब राहुल को टीआरपी मिल रही है गुजरात में। मैं टीवी के मेजरमेंट से बता रहा हूँ।
मैं आपको बताऊं कि अभी मोदी जी के दौरा नहीं हो रहा है, हमारे भी कोई लीडर का दौरा नहीं हो रहा है। 24 घंटे चैनल चला रहा है, सुबह से शाम तक राहुल ही चलता है, क्योंकि राहुल यहाँ गया राहुल, वहाँ गया राहुल ने पापड़ा खाया, राहुल ने बच्चों के साथ हाथ मिलाया, ऐसी न्यूज़ चल रही है। तो नेचुरली लोग क्या करें वही देखें ना। तो इसका मतलब नहीं है कि लोगों को इंटरेस्ट है, लेकिन चल ही रहा है, पूरा दिन वही चल रहा है, तो इसमें क्या करें हम।
Of course, you can watch that very interesting conversation, all of it, the entire conversation, in just a few minutes from now at 4:30 p.m. But with that, it's a wrap on this edition of What You Miss. Stay tuned in a Bloomberg Quint.